Hey there, thanks for tuning into the Zim Geek channel. Once again, I'm your host, Randy Zimmerman, and today, by popular demand, I'm going to teach you how to draw hot stuff. Well, not by popular demand, he's just a favorite character of mine. All right, here we go. And remember our rules for cartooning. All you need is paper and pencil. Remember to draw light because it's going to make it easier to erase. And most of all, don't get frustrated. Hang on, here we go. We want to start with a circle. Doesn't have to be a perfect circle, just as close as possible. He's a little kid in a diaper who's a devil, who runs around and gets into all sorts of mischievous things. You see how that head is? You're going to want to go about two and a third tall for the character. A little more than two heads tall. For the body, going to use a bean. Doesn't have to be perfect. Again, we're just laying down the basic shape of the character right now to start with. His legs are stubby, and they go down to toes or to feet. This foot here is going to be in front or pointed at you. This foot here is going to be off to the side. His arms are going to be down by his side. And again, technically it's two ovals right to a circle. And this arm, we're going to have him holding a pitchfork because he is a little devil. He carries a pitchfork with him wherever he goes. The same length from here to here, from here to here, to his elbow, up to his wrist. Circle for the hands, and I hope you've seen my hand video by now on how to draw hands. He has a pitchfork that we're going to draw, and it goes all the way down, just a couple of straight lines, or as straight as we can get. My lines tend to be a little shaky when I'm on camera. Right down and up here, right to a point, just a little past his head. You want to make sure that you're following that line. Here at the bottom, use a ruler if you can, if you want to. It's up to you. Now let's finish off his pitchfork. Comes up here to a curved tip at the end. He's just a kid. Whoops, another curved line here for the other sides of his forks. They start small for a tip. And again, he carries his pitchfork wherever he goes. Gets a little wider at the base. You want to follow that right across. Get it as close as possible as you can. A little thick. How does that look? That's still a little thick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to thin that up on both sides. Using that bottom line. Even that I wasn't very happy with. I'm going to go through and erase that. Remember, you are always going to make mistakes when you do this, especially when you're drawing freehand. Nothing you draw is ever going to be 100% perfect. We can go through and erase those lines that we no longer need, or that weren't right the first time we put it down. We can erase the two sides of the pitchfork to show that it's all one piece. Tighten it up just a little bit here. And again, that line is a little low. So I'm going to go through and add it, redraw it, make it look as close as possible to each other. Cool little pitchfork. Like I said, he carries it with him wherever he goes. Go through and thicken up the lines here because we're going to keep this. Try to make it look as close as possible to each other, each of these arms here. Erase the lines that aren't needed anymore. Is it close? It's pretty close. And again, you can definitely get more exact if you use a ruler. Side of his body here, going to emphasize that line just a little bit. Going to erase just a little touch there where the arm hits. We're also going to erase a little bit of the line here. All we need is a little overlap there, not down to a sharp elbow. It's just a curve. And this side, he's got nice thick arms. He's like a little baby or a little kid. He's still in a diaper. That's the only clothes that he wears. Let's put that on him now. We're going to use a curved line in order to show shape. You always want to use a curved line instead of a flat line. Flat line makes it look almost one-dimensional. This adds to his dimensions. Curved line's going to overlap around his belly just a little bit. It's going to come down in a wrinkle down to the side of his leg, down to where his legs meet, and it's going to curve up to a button. No safety pin for this diaper, but a button, because a button is so much easier to draw. Another curved line here down to the side of the leg. There, and we're going to start up here, up above our front line to show it's wrapping around the back of his body. There's still a little lip here for a wrinkle, and a little wider than what we drew there. We're going to go through and erase the side of his body that the diaper is in front of. We want to leave that wrinkle working right there. We still want to show this line here isn't curved right. It looks like he's got a one piece in front. We want to show that it's tucked between his legs, so we're going to continue on a curved line up right to that diaper, or right to that button, I should say. And again, we're going to go through and erase the lines that don't look right. And back of his bottom of his body. Leg fits inside here. We're going to emphasize that line just a little more. We know we're going to keep those. He doesn't really have any knees. He does have a little wrinkle here right at the top of his foot. And here he's got a little bump out for the top part of his foot and a little bit of a toe. Right there. Not that much, actually. Not that much of an arch here. We want it flat on the floor. He's a cartoon character. He's made to be drawn as simple and as quick as possible. If you've seen my base introduction to cartooning, I explained a little bit of that. You don't see any toes here on this side of the leg because it's pointed that way. So all the other toes are back behind. You do see toes here on this foot, though. He's got a big toe in front, and followed by 3 little toes. Should take you right to that side. It should be nice and flat there along the bottom. And again, we are going to erase these lines that the toes are in front of. My sketchiness. There we go. We're going to get rid of that leg line here. This character is very unique. You don't see him around anymore except for in adult situations. I've seen quite a few tattoos done on him. He's still owned by Harvey, though, and you'll still catch, I think American Mythology comes out with books on him. If not, then IDW does. He's still around. Some of your better retailers still carry his stuff, or some of your more long-lasting retailers will still have comics for sale, and they're all worth picking up. They have a lot of really amazing charm. Here I've drawn the thumb wrapping in front of the pitchfork, this finger wrapping around the side of the pitchfork. And you're only seeing that finger from about the knuckle to the front of the hand, or to the fingertip, I should say. Here you can erase the top part of that circle because that pitchfork goes right around there. The other finger is right next to the top finger. The first finger goes right on top of the thumb. Second finger goes next to the thumb, a little bit on top of that thumb. Third finger hangs outside of that thumb. Try to make them as equal as possible. We're going to go through and erase the side of that circle that nobody needs to see anymore, because that was just our guideline. And save those fingers. No fingernails. Character doesn't have that much detail associated with him. We're going to continue that pitchfork line all the way across the front of his hand. we're going to add just a small palm line right in the center of the hand. You can tell that from the center of the finger right over the bottom part of his hand, and we can erase now where that circle hits the wrist. We can touch up that hand, that arm just a little bit. We can erase the bottom part of the circle that pitchfork is in front of. Look at how easy that was. We can erase here on this arm, the side of the body. We're going to go through and emphasize his body line here just a little bit. And again, he's got thick arms all the way down to the wrist. This hand is going to be wide open, so we're going to see a thumb that's going to jut out. Thumb always points in. First finger. It's going to almost be pointed to the ground. The next finger is going to be right next to him, and it's going to take over a little more than half of that circle now. These first two fingers should be 3/4 of that circle that we've drawn. The last finger is going to stick out. It's always funnier to have that pinky off on its own. And again, we're going to go through and we're going to erase that circle, the parts of the circle that the thumb hits. It might cut in just a little bit with the bridge of the from the finger to the thumb. We're going to erase where the fingers are in front of that circle, and we're going to erase where the circle hits that wrist. And where the two parts of the arm come together. No elbow again. It's a nice smooth line over here. It just doesn't exist there. But there is a small bump right there to separate the two parts of the arm. This arm straight down. There's all sorts of little tricks of the trade when you go through and cartoon. The more of those you know, the more your style, your cartooning style is going to pop out. Now those fingers didn't look exactly right to me, so I am going back over them, emphasizing them just a little bit more, just to try to make them look good. All right, and that is the body, all except for one important detail. He is a little devil, a little demon child, and that means he has a tail. His tail starts right at the bottom part of his diaper, slips out the back end of the diaper. It's just a curved line pointed up. It's a little thicker towards his body than it is at the tip. Nice and smooth, curved lines. Right to an arrow-tipped point. Curved line out, curved line out. Curved line up, curved line up. There. Now, that's his body. Except for his head, we're going to get rid of that line here on his leg. We don't need it. This line here overlaps. That's that little wrinkle. If you ever see little babies, they have that little wrinkle where right at the ankle. That's what that is. Now, for his head, he is looking at a 3/4 direction. We want to give some dimension to his face. So we are very quickly going to draw in a couple of curved lines. One through the center. If he was a more grown-up or teenager, we would run a center line right through the middle and another curved line just to keep that dimension going. But here's a cartooning secret. Instead of drawing that, he would look like he's got a more mature head. We want to go for a baby head. And that means a taller forehead. So about 1/3 of the way up, we're going to bring that line across. This is going to give him more of a baby look. We're going to go in. Every Harvey character has a unique house style, a unique cheek. We're going to go in just a little bit to that line, and we're going to puff out just a hair for a cheek and come right down to a neck. Nice curved line. Sometimes you'll see a point right there. Sometimes you won't, depending upon the artist's interpretation of the character. In fact, I want to puff that cheek out just a little bit more and bring it down. Then we can erase the side there and the side of the head that's no longer necessary. I'm going to thin out that line just a little bit. Almost like Tweety Bird's cheek, if you know who Tweety Bird is. Some of you are not going to know who that reference is. We might get around to Tweety Bird one of these days. We're going to erase the side of his head here, the indent for his cheek. Continue emphasizing that line all the way up. We're going to make it thicker all the way around. And it comes down just to a little curve right there for his neck. We can erase that bottom line, the bottom part of that circle. We're still going to keep our guidelines going. Those are very important to keep us grounded. We're going to erase a little bit of that circle because that's not part of his head. Now his nose is going to fit right at the middle there. Instead of putting a nose lower, it's going to be right there in the center, and it's a turned up nose. And right in the middle, we're going to run a little line up. We should have moved this line up just a little bit more, because that should be the tip of the nose right there. That should be our guideline. Right at the top part of the nose, or top part of that U of the nose. Right there. Now his eyes are going to sit right on top of that line. They're going to be round. Not too tall. They're going to be ovals. Leave about as much space here as you would on the other side. Try to make the eyes as tall, or the same height, I should say. And we're going to have him looking straight ahead, and the way we're going to do that is by drawing him cross-eyed, believe it or not. If we draw the other eye in over here on this side, it's going to look like he's looking off to the side. We don't want that. We want him looking straight ahead. There we go, but we are going to put a big smile on him. And he's got a side of his smile here and here. And now this line here is going to continue up as part of his cheek, but they're not going to touch. We can go through and erase that. Make sure that it looks like one set line, which that does. We're going to go through now, and we can't erase all of our guidelines yet because we need to put in those ears. Normally the ears would be right at the end of the line, or end of the line to the side of the head, but he's got big ears that's set low. Lower than that center line. It's going to come out and curve right out to a point, and then they're going to curl right back into the bottom of his head. You're still going to have a little space here. You're still going to have the shoulder there, but that's his ear. His other ear is going to curl up on this side and go underneath his trident, or his pitchfork, I should say. Inside of the ear, it comes out to a point there. Over here on this side, you're going to see that whole ear, and the first thing you're going to want to do is erase all of those guidelines that are inside the ear, because you don't need those anymore. We're going to add to the inside of the ear, also down to a point, and here it's going to come down to a curve. You're going to show a little bit on this side, a little bit on that side. Almost looks like a safety pin. At least it reminds me of it. Now we can erase that center guideline here. Back to his nose. These other unnecessary lines. The center line here we can bring up because now we have his eyes right. There, a little bit right there. We're going to erase that down to the lip. Erase that. And all important, that line should look smooth. Little detail here, bottom part of his bottom lip. Right there. He's got a couple of eyebrows. One's thicker. The one that's closest to the eye is thicker. One is thinner. And of course, one last important detail is we're going to add in those horns. And those are curved horns. They're not very thick. They're not very tall, but they are curved. You can't help but see them. They go right out to a point just to add to his devilishness. You're going to want to emphasize the line on the bottom of the horn just to give it a little bit more dimension. The other horn sits right on this side, and it's going to curl up. Also to a point, should almost be as thick, or try to make it as thick as that other horn. Doesn't have to be as tall. but it does need to be there. We're going to erase the side of his head that his horn is in front of. Both of his horns. And that is Hot Stuff, the Little Devil. Every even-numbered video on the Zim Geek channel, I teach cartooning, so I'm very interested to know what cartoon characters you want to learn how to draw. Please leave a comment in the comment section. If you enjoyed this at all, please like it, subscribe to my channel, tell your friends, have them subscribe too. Every odd video, we're going to talk about comics, comics history, and other commercial sequential artwork that I've done in the past, okay? Once more, thanks so much for tuning in to the Zim Geek channel. Take care. Thanks again for being here.